Shabazz, thanks for being here today.
Hey Jay, thanks for having me, man. Appreciate it.
We couldn't do an event focused on cannabis retail in 2021 if you weren't here and the team from Dutchie wasn't going to be talking. So welcome. We're excited to have you.
Thanks to be here.
You said you wanted to start by asking me some questions. That's a role reversal.
Yeah, I figured, you're always the guy asking the questions. And so why don't we do a little bit of a flip the script.
Okay.
Now, just before we start. So I'm going to toss out 4 numbers, Jay.
Okay.
In the realm of e-commerce, and you do your best to guess what those numbers represent. Ready?
I'm better at asking the questions, but yes.
All right. Okay. So the first number is $10 million. $10
million. Are you going to play the Jeopardy song? $10 million. I'm of two minds. It could be like, is it average daily sales online in Canada? No.
Ooh, that's a good guess. So it's total dollars in online sales done in Ontario in the last 30 days.
30 days. Okay.
30 days.
Sure. Okay.
Okay.
That's pretty good. Or maybe it's not. I don't know. But go ahead.
Pretty good. Okay. So 17,000.
17,000. How many transactions there were in that month?
Good. Okay. Transactions for the last 30 days. Which province?
I'm going to say Ontario.
Alberta.
Fuck.
Okay.
So,
all right.
So I'm over 2 and I'm not even close on either one. Sure. Keep going.
Okay. All right. All right. What's another number here? All right. $1.1 million.
$1.1 million. I'm going to say, is that the online sales in Ontario since, the latest lockdown?
Good guess. It's the highest grossing online sales for one retailer, a specific retailer, over the last 30 days.
Oh, that's pretty good.
Pretty good. Yeah. And then let's give you an easy one, Jay. 68 bucks.
Average basket size.
Average basket size. Yeah. Across.
Online.
Correct. For BC, Alberta, and Ontario over the last 30 days.
It's like, that seems good, but I don't know.
Exactly. And so this data is all based on, obviously, Dutchie retailers that are on our platform.
Yep.
But it's very, very interesting to see the data and how it's growing and how it's playing out across, again, we just took Alberta, BC, and Ontario for the sample size. And we'll definitely come out with some more aggregate numbers, but it's nuts to see just how e-commerce is playing out across, all of the provinces, but also the differences in how the provinces operate with the rules and the regulations around e-commerce. But the one thing that we know from these numbers, Jay, is that e-commerce is here to stay. And it really will be a crux of, a retailer strategy and an LP's and a brand strategy moving into 2021. So appreciate you playing the game. I think
failed, but okay. And only some of those purchases were mine of all those aggregate numbers, but my basket size was larger than $68. So I'm bringing the average up, I think.
So tell me, from the first time you ordered online to maybe the most recent time you ordered online, what contributed to those behaviors? Did you find yourself, buying the same things? Did you find your basket size increasing? I mean, you're a consumer, but you're also in the industry, so I'm curious.
So my basket size probably has increased, and my first purchase was October 18th, 2018, and even though I knew all the brands, I didn't know what to buy, probably. It also took 3 weeks to get it to me. The most recent one I purchased through Superette the first day they were allowed to deliver again, and the basket size was large, and then it was variety. It was like, I bought a bunch of beverages, I bought a bunch of edibles, and a bunch of pre-rolls, because I wanted to get a variety. It's nice to have it around. And especially on the pre-roll side, you get to get a whole bunch of different variety, and you buy from friends' companies at this point. So that's what I did, but it's a much better experience because I think I know more what you want. I mean, that's part of it. It's easier to get to your door. You can have variety. It's less expensive. Like all the things that would drive people to increase their basket size. I think for me, as the N of one, it's happening for sure.
Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, if it's happening with you, you're a consumer, you're in the industry, your buying patterns are changing, and you're learning more. And it's only a matter of time before that happens with, mass consumerization, outside of, consumers who've consumed before, and so I think the biggest thing, and we'll get to this, is in 2021, it's how do you capture that online revenue, that e-commerce revenue, and make that part of your strategy so that you can, leverage that data and expand. So again, Jay, thanks for the interview, man. And I'll be hosting this on Business Cannabis now.
That would be great. I'd love to have you do it. But let me ask you a question, because you're talking obviously about online sales, and there's a regulatory component certainly in Ontario, which hopefully will be a hurdle we jump over at some point in 2021. That's part of the conversation, obviously, today throughout the day of when the industry or when regulators will get to that. But certainly people want to buy cannabis online. That is sort of a steady state. But let me ask you a question. I mean, how, if you are a retailer, which we're trying to sort of talk through both current and would-be retailers today, like understanding if you're in Ontario, you can't really offer it outside of Toronto right now for this time horizon, but like, how would you think about getting your operation ready, right? And almost future-proof for anything that may come online? Like, how would you think about those things as you get up and running to day one, even though you can't offer e-com from day one necessarily?
Absolutely. So I'm happy you asked this. It's almost like I teed this question up in a way.
You did not. I'm not giving you the question, just like you didn't give me the question in advance.
It's a fantastic question, and one that obviously, being with Dutchy, we get asked a lot, and it comes to, I think it boils down to really two main things. Is number one, e-commerce. A lot of individuals and a lot of retailers think of e-commerce as an add-on to their strategy, and we talk a lot about the retailer value proposition, and that retailer value proposition has to continue not only from in-store to online. And so in the macro view and a zoomed out view, if you're starting a retail environment, you need to think of how you can mirror those physical things and characteristics that you're doing in store. So think about, the call to actions with your customers, how you help them buy, how you merchandise, all of, where your brand tone and attitude and values actually fit in, how to actually mirror that online. Because you want it to be one linear brand value proposition, and two, at any point as a consumer, if you have a different experience, there's 100 other competitors out there that will be, doing the same thing, and they're selling, and there's a big sea of sameness. So having one linear value proposition. So if you're an initial retailer, thinking about kind of that long-term strategy and not e-commerce as an add-on. And then secondly, the biggest thing is, with technology partners today, e-commerce, POS, payment processing, these are all newer technologies that are coming out, but they all fit into an environment, a retail tech stack. And so mapping out, how all of these technologies work together and how all of them, fit together. Do they talk with one another? And kind of having a strategy that looks at not only e-commerce, but how e-commerce plays into things like evangelism, things like customer surveys and feedback, things of that nature, is going to be key in ensuring that not only, do you have the Ferrari, with Dutchy, but you also, making sure that you're, filling gas and ensuring that you can actually drive that Ferrari once you have one.
Yeah, and what has been clear from sort of 2018 through 2019, much of 2020, is that certainly in Ontario, but other places too, with the exception of Alberta, the number of the competition among retailers is now significant, where it used to be none, basically, not that long ago, right? And so everybody's looking for these, of course, legs up, but also you need to prepare yourself for an environment in which you're entering, not the one that was a year and a half ago when you thought you had this idea. I just think of any neighborhood in downtown Toronto, there's 6 stores you're going to walk by on a regular basis. How do you think about that as a retailer? How do you move some of that online? Because people think about online before they go out, especially now where people want to be very directive about what they're doing. And so, like, as you view the landscape, like, are there people doing it really well? Are there people that, you don't have to name people that could be doing it better, but like, what are some of the strategies and tactics that people are thinking about online now, where they may not have been a year ago or even 9 months ago?
Absolutely. So again, it's a great question because it's something that we think about every day. Retailers are thinking about every day. Brands are thinking about every day. And all of us in this ecosystem are all trying to build cannabis and eventually, help that end consumer. With their purchase and buying behaviors. And so before I answer that question, think about just how we buy as humans today. Think about days like Amazon Prime Day. Think about Alibaba's, 11/11 day. Think about the holidays, right? We've been conditioned to buy online and during these times well throughout our lives. And for cannabis retailers, it's no different. So, now that it's the holidays, some things that I've been seeing, some retailers have been doing really well. For instance, Superette, they're all over the news right now. They're doing some really good things across their value proposition. And one of the things I saw online that they were doing was, they have curated holiday bundles because the holidays are a catalyst to buy. And so, taking advantage of predetermined buying behaviors allows retailers to really get their consumers in the understanding and conditioning of how to buy. Other retailers like Cannabis are doing certain things well because now they're thinking about how do we plug in a CRM and really start to drive and understand our consumers' preferences so that the content that we create, the products, the brands, the merchandise that we put on our shelves and we stock in our stores, how does that actually lead back to that third, fourth, fifth, sixth time consumer, and how are we helping guide them in their journey? So I think a big part of it is the conditioning and the purchasing aspect of it, and stepping into how consumers already buy and taking advantage of that, and then also helping them guide that buying journey by actually understanding their preferences and being their trusted advisor. I mean, I say this all the time, Jay, but I'm a cannabis consumer and I find it really hard to buy right now, let alone, go online and figure out how to buy concentrate or, what I should be getting, which bath salts I should be getting and things like that.
Yeah. It's interesting because what we've seen throughout the supply chain of cannabis is that, and maybe this looks sort of to 2021, it's becoming like everybody's got their specific niche in the sector and everybody's trying to hone it really well. And that is a reflection of this industry maturing, right? Like on the cultivation side, like we've done events over the past month and a half where people, whether they are micro or huge, like figuring out how to dial in that operation because that is their slice. Similarly on extraction, like we've talked to Next Leaf Solutions a lot, like they are really honing that thing. We talked to Denalio about, contract gummy manufacturing is a very specific slice. But again, if you could do that slice well, not the sky's the limit, but it becomes a real industry. Same thing in retail, where some of the retail basics that exist in everyday life, whether it's e-com or store experience or customer relationship management, like all those things, the companies that are doing it really well or have planned to do it really well will be successful. The ones that haven't thought about those things or are resistant to them, it's going to be really hard.
Absolutely. And that ties back to, think about just Loblaws. We always use them as an example, but just even think about like loyalty points and how the PC Optimum points are used. The other day I was asking the PC Optimum rep about their MasterCard just because I wanted to understand, is that something that's going to make me choose Loblaws and change my behavior versus someone, another grocer. And the crazy thing right now in Canadian cannabis is that, it's very challenging to really drive loyalty and evangelism and create that awareness because there's a sea of sameness. There's a bunch of different retailers. You look at one corner one day and then the next corner the other day, and, there's 3 more retailers within, very, very close to one another. So how do you really differentiate? And it's by being nimble in your tech stack and understanding, how to take advantage of some of the technologies out there, like, Bud Tender and, Springbig and Alpine and, how Dutchy and all of these things fit together. Because now as a retailer, you're going to be getting so much data. And so to move into the next phase of being a retailer, you have to understand how to, first of all, understand that data, then second of all, leverage that data to make decisions, and third, understand how those decisions actually were impacted, and then be able to pivot from there. But it's not easy because at the same time, you're trying to run a retail store. You're trying to, buy from the OCS or the AGLC. You're trying to understand what brands work. You're trying to hire good people, train your staff. I mean, it's very, very challenging. And that's why, and I know we don't have that much time to talk about this, but that's why evaluating and understanding how your technology partners work is so key, because they're doing something really, really well, such as e-commerce like Dutchie. Trust them to help guide you in that, and take that under control so that, we can help you make the decisions as well. And that ties back to like product innovation, leadership, focus, all sorts of different things.
Yeah, no, it's really, it's so compelling. And actually one very small thing that came across our desk that you guys were talking about is, the idea of using, text to communicate with folks. Like for retailers, like, this is a now twice in a year opportunity where they are actually directly, outside of store, talking to consumers in Toronto about their purchasing habits. And like, it's a unique opportunity to start communicating with consumers directly, because they're in your realm, not your realm of Dutchie, but your realm as a retailer using Dutchie and other technologies too. But like, that is super powerful. But you need to be able to know that it's something that's super powerful, be able to turn it on, be able to activate it, understand the data coming back to you. And as you said, like, it's all in the realm of a highly regulated thing. You're trying to order cannabis, trying to hire people, trying to train people, but it will be differentiators like that are the difference between success and not.
Yeah, exactly. On that note, Dutchie just launched live messaging, and I won't go into the feature set, but that allows, like you mentioned, for the one-to-one communication with your consumer. Right now, how many retailers can actually say they communicate with that consumer and they log that data, right? Maybe in store, but are they writing it down, right? Many, sure, but maybe many not. And so with two-way messaging, you can actually, once an order is open, connect with that customer a little bit more, start to understand them, build that one-to-one relationship. And, if I'm a consumer and I know that I have, access to someone on the other end that maybe I can chat with, or whatever the case is, it's definitely a little bit of a different buying process. And it speaks back to the vulnerability of buying in cannabis today. I'm still pretty vulnerable when I, go into a store and I'm just like, oh, I didn't realize there's, that out or this product or whatever the case is. Imagine, a consumer, the 95% of the consumers who haven't tried cannabis, how do they get into the store? How do they buy?
All that stuff. Well, Shahbaz, I want to encourage everybody who's a retailer or a would-be retailer to get in touch with Dutchie, because not only are you a good guy with deep experience in the sector, but also Dutchie is an important component to what a lot of really smart retailers are doing and doing well. So thank you for being here today. Thank you for your partnership. We look forward to seeing what 2020 has in store for Dutchie and a lot of these retailers as well. So thanks for making time. Thanks, Jay. As always, a pleasure and appreciate it. Talk soon. Next time I'll study for the quiz. Thanks, Shahbaz. Cheers.